Hey guys, it's me, EODGamerz here. I want to share with you historically why the 100 to 1 Divine Orb has historically been a psychological level to take note of. And I'm going to back that up with data as well from the past few leaks. So if you're interested in technical analysis and the economic side of things, I think you will find this video very insightful from the trends that I have noticed as well. Now, I always like to talk about stuff with data backing it up rather than pulling it out of thin air and fluffing you with my memory and stuff like that. So this is data that I've collected over the past 3 leaks thanks to you guys supporting the channel. Every subscriber, every member really helps goes a long way to create these kind of content available for you for now and in the future as well. So what do I have here? I have chart of 3 data sources of 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and thereafter every time in future I'll be collecting this data myself personally. What is going on? So on the x-axis here on the bottom is the days since the leak start and the days since how many days it is since the leak start. And on the left y-axis over here is the amount of Exalted relative to 1 Divines. And by superimposing it, we can start to see a pattern. Don't bother about 0.1 because 0.1 started out as like 1:4. And I only started collecting data on day 30 thanks to you guys' support when I realized that you guys like these kind of content. So I started to do it as well. But this graph over here, we have tons of other charts as well. This is just one that I want to show because everyone's talking about Exalted Orbs now. Notice importantly that by knowing superimposition and how superimposed charts of like 0.2 versus 0.3, you can actually see opportunities and where things are going to go. So let's talk about the first part here, which in hindsight is of course 2020, but in the future where the directions go is always a little bit more uncertain. When we put out a video recently telling you not to panic, it was at this point here, the exact lowest of how it was when it started to crash and everyone started panicking. A lot of people saw that video as well, and perhaps people also coincided with started to want to craft more, maybe panic less because they see that, oh, Exalted prices isn't going to be the new Divine Orbs. Back then, people were actually starting to say something like that in comments and stuff. But then it started to go up right now, and likely it's going to keep going up. I want to talk about a few things. The first is if we know this data, and at the beginning, I already put out videos like at the start saying that this trend is like that, how it has been, why this is the case, and everyone started to sell Exalted, and then everyone crowded in Divines. But then, of course, crafting season started, and then after that, people started to sell Divines, and this created a lot of fear because suddenly you have a trend reversal. Every time there's a trend reversal, it creates a lot of fear, panic, especially when it's in the downward trend. And then now it goes back up slowly, but no one really feels too much about it because everyone is in a surplus right now. And this is very similar to the 0.2 line we are seeing so far. The fair value of Divine Orbs was overblown, but when it came back down, you can see it actually touched very close to where 0.2 was at around this mark in the same amount of time frame. There is no changes to the rates of Exalted relative to Divines as based on what we read in the patch notes. Maybe more are dropping, but in relative order, because this is a relative of Exalted versus Divine chart in terms of supply and demand. So economics actually tells you a lot about data trends as well. So generally now, the trend will continue upwards where Exalt will keep depreciating. But importantly, the important psychological level that is around the 100 Divine, but the 100 Exalt to Divine mark, which is pretty much where we are now. Now, there are a few thoughts of what's going to happen here, but let's look at some actual data to see what's the plan. You notice in 0.2, for a good maybe 8 days, it was holding around the 90-something level, 100 level, perhaps slightly less than where we are now. But this psychological level held for a really long time, and then it started to break and it started to move up. Thereafter, of course, here, there's no need for me to put in more data because once it broke, it showed a different state of the game and it became much more important to look at the other assets, which we all do on the channel for like other asset classes and whatever not. But this video, I just want to specifically point out this chart here, which is for Exalted to Divines because that's what you guys care a lot about right now and are interested in. So if we look back even further at 0.1, there is a similar trend as well. You could say that 0.1 was the slowest leak because it was brand new. Everyone was still taking their time getting used to the currency. Even Divine started at like 1:4. So 4 Exalted could buy you 1 Divine. So people only started to realize Divine's value later on in the league. So this might have a bit of a lag implication. That's why you see that massive spike over here when people realize, okay, everyone is crowding the Divines. Divines is the de facto currency that people hold wealth in. So that's why everyone crowded in later on after the new game. People started to accept it as a community. But before that, the ratio of Divines and Exalted has held at 100 plus for a really long time, and only took 40 days to break past 110, 117 like that before it went up on a upward spiral. And we also see the same thing in 0.2. It continued to go up day by day. There are a few things that might be different, and I think that this barrier of 100 will be broken very quickly this league. The reason because everything is shifted forward. Crafting is easier, so people are spending less Exalted to craft a gear that they are looking for. Right now, everyone is deterministic crafting. You can see our videos, you can see a lot of other guides on how people are crafting many different ways. So strong crafting. This league is a trader's market. That's how I earn a Divine barely 5 days in, and you can a mirror 5 days in. And it's really, really very obvious. You can see that the trend, this one will likely go up. So I think there will be a slight divergence. This chart will just move up a lot faster. Exalted will just depreciate, and safer assets like Divines and stuff will be a little bit more valuable. We are also seeing initial movements in the currencies, for example, like Chaos already. Previously, and this is very similar trends that we have been seeing as well. So Chaos in the early part of 0.2 was worth less than Exalted. Similar for this case, Chaos dipped below in the crash to be below than Exalted, and now Chaos is trading to 1:2.5. That's why I told you guys, no need to panic. Historic data has always shown trends, and history always rhymes with each other. It's not exactly the same, but you can gather a lot of insight as well from the past few trends. So that's the strength of data, and I'll be guiding you along the way. And as we move along, we will no longer care about Exalt to Divine prices as much, and we will want to move on to the more expensive assets, which tells us a much more bigger picture of the entire economy. And I think that's a lot more useful as well to see where direction is going. I plan to have this chart up in a place that you guys can see it for yourself as well. So I'm actually planning to hire some people to build a website for us. It's going to create a lot of funds. If you want to accelerate this process of development and support us as well, do consider joining as a member, or maybe even buying us a coffee. A lot of the money is used to hire other people. And if you're interested to be a developer to help us build a website to put out all these data, do reach out to us as well on email. I really, really will appreciate it. It's a community effort. I really hope to be here for you guys in the long run. But otherwise, you will be seeing this Excel graphs for a really, really long time, even if we don't get the site done. But thank you guys again so much for watching and your attention. I highly recommend you check out the other videos on the economic conditions and stuff about Power of Exile 2 on the channel that you will find very interesting if you like these kind of content as well. And see you guys in the next one.